Today's episode is brought to you by Olfa. It's time to upgrade your blade to a new Olfa Contractor Grade X Design utility knife. Make blade changes quick and easy with Olfa's super strong snap-off blades. Work 25% sharper with their preloaded ultra-sharp black carbon steel blades. And work stronger with the durable fiberglass reinforced anti-slip grip handles. Find Olfa X Design in 3 contractor grade sizes. Extra heavy-duty 25mm, heavy-duty 18mm, and high-precision 9mm. Ditch your old knife and learn how to upgrade your blade at olfa.com/FHB. That's olfa.com/FHB. The footing tube will just creep up a little bit, and as it creeps up, you'll get this big billowing leak of concrete at the bottom, and the more it leaks out the bottom, the faster it'll push it up, and then you just have a pile of concrete with a tube sitting next to it.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Fine Home Building Podcast, our weekly discussion of building, remodeling, and design topics aimed at anybody who cares deeply about the craft and science of working on houses. I'm Justin Fink. I'll be your host today. I am joined by Mr. Patrick McComb on my left. Supposed to say hi here.
Hi.
And over here on my right, Mr. Matthew Milham.
Hello.
Whoa.
Oh, that's loud.
That's Matthew's loud today. If you guys need to check out our website, if you want to check out our website, but you do need to check it out, finehomebuilding.com/podcast. And all of the questions that you will hear us talk about today came into our email address at fhbpodcast@taunton.com. We were just talking about this before the show, and we like questions of all sorts. So you can ask us about construction, design, energy efficiency, anything down to what color should I paint this wall. We will have an opinion on it, I'm sure, and we will find endless opportunities to talk about it in a depth that is greater than you could possibly imagine. So, you guys are just fresh off of some trips.
Yeah.
Well, Patrick was on a staycation.
What a great thing that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you do, though, on your staycation?
One of the things I did
Home projects?
unexpectedly was replace my dishwasher.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
What broke?
So Friday afternoon, at the start of my staycation, right?
Yeah.
My wife and I are talking in the kitchen, and all of a sudden I noticed that there's sudsy water all over the floor. And I'm pretty good at fixing appliances. I've done some repairs to keep them in service.
When that happens, are you annoyed, or are you like, does that make your adrenaline hit as a building junkie, where you're like, I got a problem to fix?
In this case, it was bad timing. I was like, oh, really? This is what I want to be doing on my vacation, is dealing with buying and installing a dishwasher.
Yeah.
So that was really not what I was into. But my first attempt was to fix it. And I figured out that my dishwasher is an older model, and it has a mechanical timer that makes it advance through the cycles, right? And part of that part is a little, what amounts to an AC clock motor that advances the timer. So that's what failed. So I tried at first to buy that part, and you can buy one, but it's $250.
Wait a second. So how does that part breaking lead to suds?
Yeah.
So it kept filling without stopping.
Oh, it didn't know when to stop
to turn
that
off the
cycle.
fill valve, right? So, you could advance the timer manually, and it would go through the cycles. So I actually thought about using it that way for the future. I would just stand here and advance it every so often.
How long could you do that for the $250? So hold on, really, the replacement was $250?
Yeah, and it was a very limited availability. I only found one place where you could buy it, and they said it could take weeks to get. So my question is, were they rebuilding one or what have you? I suspect somebody with some clock skills could fix it.
Yeah.
So I quickly abandoned that.
And started hunting for a clockmaker. A watch repair guy.
So my first option was to go to Amazon to buy a dishwasher, because I buy everything from Amazon now.
Interesting.
So you can't.
Oh, right.
You can buy a countertop dishwasher, which I didn't know existed, but it looks like a little box you put in your apartment to wash like 10 plates.
Really?
Yeah, it looks like
sits on top of the counter?
Yeah, it looks like a toaster oven that you put your dishes in.
Cool.
I was kind of interested in
I want one of those industrial restaurant ones where you slide it in and pull the hood down, and then like a minute later you lift it up again and they're done.
Yeah.
And you just put them away.
Or you put them in one side and pull them out the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are we not? My dishwasher takes like 4 damn hours
Yeah.
to finish.
Well, that's something I want to talk about now.
Okay, sorry.
So my dishwasher was a 99 or 2000 model. So it had a good run of it, and I felt like it didn't owe us anything. So the next step was to go to one of the home center box stores. And my first attempt was to only search for local inventory so I could go with the truck, pick up a dishwasher, bring it home, put it in the
Right.
kitchen.
Right.
That was a hopeless failure.
You can't do that at Sears, I don't think, can you? Sears was always where I would picture going for appliances in my childhood.
And you'd want to bring it home.
Right, but I don't know if you can. I think it was like...
It's very limited what you can buy. And my dishwasher is white, which now I've learned is an oddity. Almost everything is stainless. And interestingly, white appliances actually cost more than stainless appliances now in some cases.
Really?
Yeah, which is a total turnaround, right?
Yeah.
So when I learned I couldn't search local inventory, I decided to abandon this one home center retailer and go to the next one. And I originally tried to search for local inventory there too and couldn't find a white dishwasher. I found a couple that you could buy that were stainless, but I couldn't buy a white one. So I finally said, okay, 3 to 5 days I can have this white Bosch dishwasher from this one home center. I'll just pull the trigger on that. So that's what I did.
Oh, God, you got a Bosch?
The story is still going, and I'll try and keep it moving.
That 4 hours becomes 8 hours.
So the thing was, I ordered this dishwasher. It was about $450. I think it's Bosch. It's probably least expensive model. And it said it would be available for pickup in my store within 3 to 5 days. So this is Friday. I'm like, okay, that's in the middle of my staycation. That's not going to be a big deal. I'll just swing over there when it comes in. So Wednesday, which is now day 5, I still haven't heard a single word from this retailer. So
Is this an orange big box?
they're both involved.
Oh, okay.
So I started at
against each
one,
other.
Okay.
and then I went to the other.
Okay, this is gonna be a good story. Can I pause for a second and ask if you ever considered, even briefly, buying a stainless steel one and painting it white?
No, I did not.
Okay. I just wonder how your brain works.
Well, I thought about buying a stainless one and slowly replacing our appliances, but the clash was just too much for my brain. I just couldn't deal with that disparate appliance finish.
Now you bought all new appliances. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So on Wednesday, I call up the local box store where this Bosch dishwasher is going to be delivered, and I say, I want to check the status of my order. I still haven't gotten any updates from the website where I purchased it. Well, who did you talk to in the store? Well, I didn't talk to anyone in the store. I bought it on the website. Oh, okay. So already I'm like seeing red flags. So he's like, what's the order number? I have it with me. I give it to him. He's like, oh, okay. What's your last name? McComb. What's your phone number? Oh, I have it here. Oh, that's going to be in next Saturday. I was like, the website told me it was going to be in 3 to 5 days, and that's why I bought it. I was like, I want a dishwasher. This is my window of opportunity to install it.
Yeah.
And he said, well, it's going to be next Saturday. And I was like, but why?
Sorry, I don't care about any of that.
Why did the website tell me he can't answer that? I want to cancel the order. So I remember that a local appliance dealer has a scratch and dent outlet.
Yes.
Which
Now you're speaking my language.
I'm all over, right? So I called this place up.
Why didn't you start there?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. So I called up and I was like, do you have any dishwashers in stock? Yeah, what are you looking for? It's got to be white. I don't want it too fancy. Yeah, come on, we got a bunch of things. I come over there. I go into the appliance store. Yeah, appliances we have an inventory are down in the basement. Let's take a look. I was in and out of there within half an hour with my new dishwasher, driving to my house, and had put it in 2 hours later.
The nice thing about dishwasher shopping is that they're all the same size.
24 inches.
Yeah, that's way. I mean, if your refrigerator goes, the hassle is almost amplified because
they're all different.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
So I love this place. They had 4 dishwashers for me to choose from in my price range, and the guy helped me put it in the truck, and then I drove home with it.
Okay.
And it works fine, except it takes 3.5 hours to do a load of dishes, which I'm told is now the norm. Instead of, I think my old one took about 90 minutes or 80 minutes.
What brand did you get?
It's a Whirlpool.
Okay. That's what I have too. I don't know what I have. I might have an LG.
It's very quiet. I've noticed that has been a marked improvement in dishwasher technology in the last 20 years.
I almost wouldn't mind sacrificing. I mean, I'm going to get burned at the stake for saying this. Is the issue just the fact that it uses less water and that's why it takes longer?
Yeah, and
I wouldn't mind using some more water. Let's get this thing done.
I tend to agree. This one has a sensor that actually is monitoring when the dishes are clean, so it'll keep washing until its optical sensor tells that it's done.
Really?
What?
Yeah. The other thing I was introduced to is for years we've been buying the Cascade dishwashing detergent in a bottle that costs like $6 to $8. And now the dishwasher manufacturers want you to use these delicious-looking little pods with the various things in there, and that's like $20-some for a box of those. So that I mean,
you can't use liquid anymore?
they don't want you to.
So when did this involve the other big box store?
That was the one I tried to search for online with local inventory, which I could not do. You had to call each individual store, and I actually left messages at 2 of this one particular retail to see what they had in stock, and never got any calls back. So after a couple hours of that, I gave up. Wow, it's surprising to me. It's so hard to buy something out of inventory as ubiquitous as a dishwasher.
Nobody has inventory anymore. They want you to buy it online. But the weird thing is that the online shopping hasn't caught up to fill the void.
It's as frustrating or more frustrating than going
Dishwashers are pretty light too. I'm surprised they wouldn't ship that to you. That's not a really heavy thing.
No, one person can pick it up.
I could see like an oven. The UPS guy oh man, I got to deliver this thing.
Yeah, or a front-loading washer.
Yeah.
It's like several hundred pounds.
Yeah.
So dishwasher connections have changed for those of you who haven't put a dishwasher in a while. It used to have this like little brass elbow that screwed into the fill valve. Well, now they have more like a washing machine hose connection on there. In fact, that's what it is, a hose connection.
So it's just a male threaded inlet?
Yes.
And you just hook a hose right up to it?
Yeah, and the other end of the hose, one end of the hose has the hose connection. The other end is a compression fitting for a shutoff valve.
Is it like a 3/4 inch threaded NPT kind of a thing?
No. You mean on the supply line?
No, on the dishwasher though.
So it's just a hose connection like your garden hose would have.
So 5/8.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that the same thing? That's the same thing that a washing machine has. So it's the same hose now.
Except that one end has a compression fitting. It doesn't have 2 hose ends.
Compression fitting. Why? People are still using those?
It's a standard supply line connection,
Yeah.
Fun.
Well, that sounds great.
It was satisfying because then it was done.
When I moved into my house, I had a Lady Kenmore
Nice.
that was in there from I think it was from the 60s.
I was going to say that dates it for sure.
Yeah. And you would open it up. I think it was blue inside. And
It was probably
I think
porcelain.
It was fake wood veneer on the outside.
Oh, nice.
And then the top rack that would pull, the top shelf thing that would pull out was round. And it was like a carousel. So you could spin
things
it and load it, which not a terrible idea.
Yeah.
I
Although
bet
you
it
couldn't
waste space.
Yeah, you didn't use as much of the space.
It still worked though?
I don't remember if I ever used it or if I just
Threw it right in the
replaced it. Yeah.
I had a chance to talk to the folks at GE one time about dishwashers, and they don't own that company anymore, so I feel like I'm not talking out of class, but they were disappointed with the new. So the federal government has appliance standards, and they were convinced that it made dishwashers not as good and not as long lasting because they had to cheapen them to keep up with the technology. But they had a.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like we're getting better with dishwashers.
Well, I think that the
I want to blast that thing. I want a pressure washer in a box.
Yeah.
the energy use has gone down.
Come on. I mean, why are we so that thing seems like we're so targeted on reducing energy and water use compared to other aspects of life.
I think it's because you can.
Yeah, I guess.
But the 3-hour wash time was a surprise to me.
I'm surprised it's that short, honestly. I've heard people with Bosch that I think is even longer than that.
I just run mine. I turn it on before I go to bed. I have no idea how long it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a long time, Matt.
Yeah.
You get up in the middle of the night for a snack and it's still going. That's how you realize.
Yeah.
Matt didn't do anything cool on vacation, did you?
No. I went to Ireland for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty lame.
Tell us about what's the single biggest difference about residential construction in Ireland?
Obviously, that's why you were there, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was just looking at houses.
Yeah.
No. Well, it was
First
a lot
of all,
of fun.
forget about that. Does the Guinness actually taste different?
I would say, well, the first day we went to the Guinness factory and did the tour.
You were right to do that on day one.
Yeah, needed to get that out of the way. I would say that the Guinness in the factory tasted a little bit different, and that it was fresher and maybe a little bit better. Although that also might have been the jet lag. I don't know.
Yeah.
But virtually everywhere else, every other pub that we stopped at, and I had a Guinness or the stuff that I bought in the store in the can, because this was the experiment. I basically got every variety that I could.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice any difference between the
Yeah,
US
because you
and
got to do
here.
a side by side.
Yeah.
See, I knew it. I knew it
Yeah.
wasn't any different. I think it's a mental thing.
Yeah, even the temperature. I think they recommended it was like serving it at like 51 degrees or something like that, which
Yeah.
doesn't seem like it's 51 or 41. Maybe it was 41.
I could go for a Guinness now.
Yeah. But the buildings.
Yeah, I guess the buildings. Let's talk about
Yeah.
that.
So, well, I mean, the most obvious thing is the roofs, because everything is like a durable roof. There's no shingles, no regular shingles.
What do you mean
Everything's
durable?
Like either slate, which is basically going to last forever. They had like these concrete tiles that were, I guess, sort of serving the same purpose.
Do they look like terracotta tiles, like the
No.
scallop shape?
They had some that were like that, and then some that are just flat.
Really?
So it ends up looking a little bit like a slate roof once
Are
it's
they
all
glazed
covered in
or
moss.
unglazed?
Unglazed. There may have been some glazed ones. I didn't notice any. They looked almost like pavers up there, just bigger. And then sort of, terracotta style clay roofs.
It's interesting that you would have it in concrete. I guess could they maybe compress or like formulate it so that it's such a tight mix that maybe it would just shed water,
Yeah.
with before more than it would absorb water. Because I feel like
Yeah.
a paver, you put a paver out and that's gonna absorb more water than it's gonna allow to run off. But something like a Jersey barrier or like those concrete barriers in the highway, those look like that highly polished, kind of smoothed out, dense looking concrete. You feel like that would almost slick water off it before it would feel like it needs to absorb it.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I didn't get up there and inspect to see exactly what it was.
That was your first
But
mistake.
It
I
did
would
look.
just jump right up there.
Patrick would
Yeah.
have been up
I
there
would
in a
have like
heartbeat.
asking lots of questions.
It did
Yeah.
just look pretty much just like concrete.
All right.
So they have that in the southwest of this country too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've never seen them do it with concrete. They do that?
Yeah.
I don't know enough about the Southwest roofing.
So I think you just have to have a weather tight under the concrete.
We don't want to
Yeah.
go get that article because it's too hot in the Southwest on a roof.
Oh, that'd be brutal.
What else? You saw residential houses, though? You saw,
Yeah,
like, construction. What's, like, do they have McMansions?
Yeah, actually, in
Really?
some places. We were out in Donegal, and there were some houses that looked like they were pretty new, and they were, basically their version of McMansions.
Were they
went through
good-looking?
the same sort of like, housing bubble that we did over here, and the same, the same exact time frame, and everything kind
Same
of fell apart.
styles, though? Like, same kind of siding? Like,
no.
mostly clapboards? And
No, almost everything over there is either stone or brick, or there's actually a decent amount of stucco as well. So a lot of these McMansions looked like they were all.
So this is like a
stucco.
Midwest style in Ireland.
Maybe a little bit. Except that the roofs are a little more durable looking. But yeah, some of those houses weren't
Kind of flat, low pitches or more steep?
some really high ones, but some. I thought they were surprisingly low, but nothing really freezes over there, which has led to another sort of difference from here in the Northeast, which is that the drain waste vent is on the outside of like all of these houses.
So it goes out through the wall and then down?
Yeah. So you have this
What?
huge
Even on
black
a new
cast
house?
iron pipe. Yeah, even on new houses. The last place we were was in Cork. And there was this whole new housing development. These places look beautiful, except for the fact that you have these gigantic, ugly black pipes sticking out of the side of the
I
house.
wonder, could you do that here by code?
I've seen it in Oakland, California, but I've never seen it anywhere else, especially on multifamilies there,
Why?
because it's cheaper, I'm sure.
How do they hide it?
They didn't.
How do you even remotely make it look okay?
They just put it on the sides. side of the house, or the back. The one house we were staying in, it was an Airbnb, and theirs was on the back of the house, so you only saw it when you were out back enjoying the patio.
I love that you can know where the leaks are.
So you have to. And who cares if you have a leak? How about that?
Yeah.
You have to climb a ladder to use the clean out, though.
Yeah.
Interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
And so the masonry, is it real masonry or is it veneer?
I did see some stuff going up, and it was stone veneer on one new build that I saw.
But was it wood framed or was it something else?
I couldn't tell. It looked like it was something else behind there. It was probably block.
Interesting.
But yeah.
Any sort of like fit and finish or product stuff that we don't have here that you're seeing over there?
Nothing that I was paying attention to, no.
So like appliances, hardware, all
No.
that stuff was about the same.
I think so. I mean, it seemed like almost everybody had like on-demand water heaters. Some of
Yeah.
them are like in the kitchen, like,
Yeah,
like
small
feet
ones,
from.
right?
Well, they were about this. I think they were the same size as ours here. The one that I saw that I kind of like inspected was in the house we stayed at in Cork, and all the supply lines for that were quite a bit smaller than they recommend over here. But it seemed to work fine, and it was quiet. I mean, it was quieter than any other one that I'd ever heard.
We should establish, since we travel so much for this job, we should establish like a 5-star rating system for when we come back from a trip, so we can recommend to listeners whether they should go to that place.
Based on its building
I don't know,
noteworthiness?
just all around experience.
Oh, I see.
So,
Yeah.
one being like, I don't know, what should we establish as a benchmark for one?
A country?
No, just it could be a state, because mostly we're going to states here, Matt. You don't get any ideas. You're going to like Switzerland for a story or something. I mean, like Delaware might be like a 1 for me.
Okay.
What do you got against Delaware?
Nothing. No, I'm just. So where would you put this on a? 5 would be like, this is one of your favorite places you've ever been.
I would say it's a 5 in terms of one of my favorite places that I've ever been. I mean, a lot of it's really beautiful. The people are really nice.
Well,
It's
coming out of the gate with the
relatively-
first ratings of 5.
relatively easy to get around. I don't know. The houses were kind of, I don't know. I was expecting more, I guess, like charm.
So
there was a lot of new construction. I mean, it's not that there aren't old houses, but a lot of what was there may have been demolished because it was probably like low quality construction. And so, especially in the bigger cities, a lot of it looks pretty much the same.
Expensive?
The prices that I looked at, not absurdly so, but I wasn't out in the middle of nowhere for the most part.
Doesn't sound like a 5.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's more about the entire experience than just houses. Houses. Maybe
Well, I'm talking
3.
about the entire experience. Though.
Yeah. No, it was great. I mean, it was relatively easy to get around. I mean, they don't have the train infrastructure that a lot of the rest of Europe has.
Yeah.
But it's so easy to get from place to place on these buses. And then when you get to any of at least the bigger cities, they have pretty good in-city transit systems. Some of them have streetcars. Most of them have buses. So it's easy to get around.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's enough of that. Let's talk about some home building stuff. What do you guys want to do first? We have 3 topics to choose from. Cabinet doors. Curtain number 1 is cabinet doors. Behind curtain number 2 is a tile problem. And curtain number 3 is a shed foundation inquiry.
I got the kitchen cabinet.
Let's do that. All right. So, DJ writes to us, I recently bought a townhouse that was built in 1983, and the kitchen with the wood grain laminate needs an update. How dare you? My plan for the cabinets is to paint the face frames and boxes and use a connection I have at the local trade school to have new shaker-style doors made and painted, saving on cost and giving the students an opportunity to learn something different. Yeah, tell yourself what you want, DJ. Sounds like you're...
You just want some free doors.
Yeah. My questions are, what product do you recommend to paint the face frames, boxes, and new doors? When measuring and planning out the new doors, what should I look out for to be sure to consider? For instance, spacing between doors, because you would like to have the doors have the largest overlay possible. And what would the best material to have the doors constructed from be? Rails and stiles and the panels. And he's aiming for low cost but durable.
Should we talk about painting first?
So we should do this one at a time. The middle question I'm a little confused about, but so recommend for painting the face frame. Are we assuming he's gonna get unfinished doors and do all the rest of the finishing himself?
That's my assumption.
Yeah.
And we're limiting this to the face frames and Like not
getting-
the inside of the box? Because it sounds like I don't know. I mean, if he's gonna, it seems to me like if you have the possibility of laying a bunch of doors out on sawhorses, maybe that might change your approach compared to I'm gonna paint all of my cabinets in place inside and out. I feel like if you're attacking the second option with a paintbrush and a can of paint, you're asking for a week of torture.
Well, and a mediocre finish.
Right.
Yeah.
But maybe you could get away with a paintbrush on sawhorses if you're just doing the doors.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and actually, I think he's got two different materials that he's going to be working with here because he's having new doors made.
Right.
So those are going to be probably all wood, and then
Sure.
he's got to refinish the laminate separately. So that's going to be a different process, I think,
Okay.
entirely.
Yes. So what do you want to do here? Do you want to assume that he's doing everything?
That's what
Yeah.
I was assuming.
That's what I was
cool.
assuming,
All right,
too,
Patrick,
yeah.
what do you got for us?
Well, I would go to our go-to painter, Philip Hansel, in Durham, North Carolina, for this answer. And we did this story in the December 2013, January 2014 issue of Fine Home Building on how to refinish kitchen cabinets.
What number is that?
That would be 240.
240. All right.
So Philip starts with a TSP clean and sand, right? And then oil-based primer, and he applies this with a sprayer. With a 310 fine finish tip is the key, according to him, and a 6-inch spray pattern. And I think the small spray pattern is to minimize the overspray and get good coverage, because most of the stiles and rails on the boxes are pretty small. And his suggestion is to first paint the inside of the boxes with this, and then tape off the openings, and then do the face frames the next day.
And is it like 2 coats of that, or is he kind of...
So I believe it's 1 coat of primer and 2 coats of paint.
Okay. I think the temptation with a lot of people is like, well, I didn't quite cover that old laminate. Let me just hit it with 1 more coat real quick while it's still wet. And then you have a crap ton of drips that you have to deal with.
His suggestion is to go easy on the coats and work from the top, the uppers first. So any overspray is then worked into the coat on the lowers, right? Because the overspray is going to fall down. So you want to do the uppers first, and then blend the little dots of paint, if you will, into the finish. So
Yeah, the overspray, that kind of granules that drop down. And
his other suggestion is to work from one end to the other, so you're once again not getting overspray on the stuff that won't then get coated later.
I would say further recommendation, I don't know that he didn't do this, Philip Hansel, on this job, but to get 1 or more box fans in an open window facing out, blowing out, and then get like a cheapo furnace filter and suction it to the inside face of that fan by the air movement, and that will exhaust. It will, if they're powerful enough and you have good airflow in there, by closing off other openings, and kind of what you want to do is kind of limit where the air is coming in so that you
have a negative pressure.
So you have this kind of good negative pressure flow going out the window. And that will help direct some of that overspray away from your surfaces and also clear the air so that you're not in a cloud.
So I was on this shoot, and I can tell you that these oil-based primers will make you sick. They are very, very VOC heavy.
If you're going oil-based primers, I mean, Matt can definitely speak to the respirator needs there.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely want to have. I mean, I think for that, because it's essentially a particulate, you can get away with one of those sort of paper half masks.
I don't know, man. The odor,
the VOCs. Then you need to move up to something a little more substantial.
And so, what are we looking for a rating on those respirator cartridges there?
It may still be. You still may be able to get away with a 10, but it'll have a VOC specific cartridge on that
10?
thing. It's basically just anything that is just sort of like that half mask respirator is basically a 10 level respirator.
Oh, I was thinking about like N95 or whatever those ratings are.
N95, that's also for particulate.
Okay.
So HEPA, but that's all just your particulate rating.
So you can pretty much get an off-the-shelf respirator combo kit, and you should be good to go with this.
Yeah, just make sure that it fits well. Make sure that you've shaved your face.
Yeah, if you have a beard, you got to go full face mask. And
Yep.
I've been looking for an excuse to get a full face mask, because they just look. I was driving yesterday to work, and I saw a guy on the side of the road grinding concrete for some construction, and he had the full face mask on.
Seems to me like that'd be really tough to see.
It seemed,
from
what I've heard, it's actually the opposite. You just
Yeah.
feel like there's nothing in your way. Like it's just it's like looking through a windshield of a car.
Right.
You're not looking at what's in front of you anymore. You're just unobstructed.
Yeah, there's nothing to get on the inside of your glasses or anything like that because
Yeah.
it's all just clean air in there. That does appeal to me. The one difference that I would say for the primer, there are bonding primers, I guess, that you can use on
Yes.
on laminate, and it's some sort of cross-link plastic. I don't know if it's the same thing that PEX is made out of or whatever, but anyway, it goes on, and that's supposed to have really good bonding. As far as like VOCs, I have no idea, but
I think it would be good to talk to your paint dealer about the laminate specifically. The wood parts of the cabinet are less frightening to me than the potentially non-sticky laminate surface.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not sure that even with those products that you don't have to first
Scuff it.
Yeah,
this
that's
or
still
degloss
recommended.
it in some way.
yeah, you would say the rest of the process would be the same. You TSP it. If you've got any mold on there, you would go over that with like
Yeah.
a bleach solution and then scuff it same way, 150, 220, whatever you
Yeah.
want. Yeah,
Yeah, in general, you don't want to be putting paint onto anything that's shiny
right.
or slick because it doesn't want to stick to that.
Yeah,
That's intentional, obviously, because they built the cabinet so things wouldn't stick to the surfaces very easily.
yep.
Okay.
After Philip primed, I think he hits the surface with 320 paper and then paints with oil, alkyd oil finish.
And does he say why he goes with oil?
So he likes it because of the self-leveling properties. You end up with a really nice finish.
Yeah. People should understand, though, and this may be like, duh, yeah, we know that, but if you're going with oil, that's not an air drying product. Like you have to wait for it to the solvents to evaporate and cure. It's not.
He waits 2 days minimum.
Yeah, it's not like latex paint of any kind. You can they probably have now, I'm sure, options that are oil emulsion or these hybrids that have some oil characteristics but dry like latex. But just as a heads up that you need to wait for that. And with the oil, your options are then open to put whatever top coat you want over that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And oil probably makes sense for a kitchen because you can have grease and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's way more durable in that environment than a latex product would be.
I've been so I mean, what would you use? You would
So his favorite is Sherwin-Williams Pro Classic, which I don't think is too crazy expensive, but it's an alkyd-based top coat.
so more oil.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when I go to the website of there, they describe it as a finest quality acrylic satin with excellent flow and leveling characteristics. So that's the
perk.
That's the perk. In cabinets, that matters.
Lately I've been using for my projects from a company named Target Coatings, and you can buy stuff right from their website and have it shipped to you. They're all waterborne. That's kind of like their niche is waterborne products, and they've developed lines of waterborne lacquers, and you can get pigmented lacquers. So you can go on there and you can give them your paint color number that you want, and they will tint it to either Benjamin Moore, Sherwin-Williams, whatever it is, and they'll send it out to you. And you can the nice thing about lacquer is that it has it dries fast, so you can recoat, and it levels out nicely. But it also has burn-in properties, so you can put it on and then it dries, and then when you put another coat on, it kind of reactivates the coat underneath it so that they blend together and sort of even out any imperfections.
And it ensures good bond, right? That's
Yeah, and I mean, it's typically this stuff is sprayed, and I know Patrick's talking about spraying, and I'm sure you could do it through an airless sprayer. I use an HVLP sprayer because it's a little finer, and I think that would be fine for kitchens. If you had a good HVLP system. But you can also supposedly brush this stuff. So I don't know, but I think it's worth looking at. It's affordable. They have a wide range of products, and I can tell you I've used the waterborne lacquer several times with no mask, and there is no odor. It's just you're brushing on lacquer, and it's melting together, and it smells like nothing.
Really?
Yep.
Wow, that's cool.
It's really cool. They even have waterborne shellac now. I think we talked about that on here recently, or maybe that was somewhere else, but anyway, it's super cool technology. I might actually, to get to those doors, and even the cabinets, I might be tempted to look at like a high build primer. They have a higher solids content, And then when they dry, it's a little easier to sand them smooth. It's almost like the stuff coming off, it almost feels like joint compound dust.
Yeah.
If you had like, let's say, open grain that you wanted to smooth out and make it look nice, it's sort of like spraying a heavy coat of primer. It's a little easier to sand. So you might consider that if you
Oil
as an option. The stuff I've seen is latex. Or again, yeah, I think it was all latex that I saw. For the doors, what kind of materials are we looking at? I usually see soft maple or poplar for wooden doors.
Yeah.
Hard maple, I'm sure, is an option too. Those seem to be the ones that I see most often. And then if you can get away with an MDF panel, that's a great savings, both in stability and in cost.
and you can glue that in to make it stronger.
It
right?
takes paint awesome. But the problem is if you want to do like a raised panel, it's gonna
fuzzy.
It's gonna be harder. You can make the fuzzy edges of MDF work, but it just takes more prep. It's maybe not the best once you start going down that path.
Yeah.
And what is this middle one, though? When measuring and planning out the new doors, what should I look out for or be sure to consider?
I think he's worried about the doors
hinges.
interfering with each other. Yeah, with the swing.
Yeah.
That was what I gathered.
I don't know how to answer this, though.
I would say describe to a good hardware vendor, the person you're going to buy your cup hinges or hinges from, what you're trying to do and let them match, because the mounting brackets and the hinges, there are a myriad of combinations to allow you to have bigger or smaller overlay and not have them interfere and have the doors open to wider or not as wide.
Right. All right, cool.
That's something we should talk about as an article sometime. Is
Hinges?
All
right, you get to do it, though.
Navigating the world of Euro hinges.
It's all you.
Oh, it sounds agony.
Imagine the product samples to get in. All right, what do you want to do next? Tile or shed?
Tile's easy.
Matt's pick.
All right. Hey, guys. Oh, this is from Patrick, different Patrick. Hey, guys, I'm newer to the FHB podcast, but have gone back and started listening to previous shows to try to catch up. Good luck, sir. We have a lot. Anyway, in a previous episode, you briefly talked about the difference between sanded and unsanded grout. One of the things that was mentioned was that sanded grout can sometimes damage the surface of porcelain, ceramic, and glass tiles. Wish I would have started listening a long time ago. If someone, hypothetically of course, already used sanded grout on floor tiles that may have caused slight scratches, is there a remedy for the problem? The damage isn't visible initially, but the floor tiles are white and quickly become stained after cleaning them thoroughly. Is there a sealant or something that can be applied when the tiles are clean to keep them from staining so easily and protect the finish? Gave you guys a 5-star rating on iTunes because you deserve it. We appreciate that, Patrick. You didn't tell us what kind of tile you have. And that's going to be crucial here, because if you told me you had marble tiles and you scratch the surface,
You're done.
well, no, you have some recourse there where you can
polish
it down. It's going to suck, but you could do it. I've done it.
I'm surprised that sanded grout could affect porcelain, to be honest, because it's so hard.
So I doubt it's porcelain. It sounds like it's got to be
Stone,
right? If it was soft enough to scratch, then I would imagine with the exception of glass. If it's soft enough to scratch, then it should be soft enough to polish out.
Yeah.
I just wonder
I would think.
if it's haze and not scratches, and that's something I would want to confirm. So you can remove grout haze with grout haze removing products, which are acidic, and you follow the directions and you can get that off.
Wear gloves.
Wear gloves and eye protection.
Yeah. Full face mask.
I don't know. I have trouble believing that tile meant to be used with sanded grout would be damaged by it.
Yeah. He mentioned... he said one of the things that was mentioned was sanded grout can sometimes damage the surface of porcelain, ceramic, and glass tiles. I don't know that we said porcelain. Maybe we did and we were wrong. I would be surprised about that. Ceramic, maybe. Yeah. Glass, certainly. And soft stones, certainly. And just to back up for anybody who missed that episode, sanded grout just means that it has sand in it.
And it's made for wider ground.
Right. The sand allows it to span a wider joint. It's like having aggregate in cement. So if you remove some of that stuff, you get non-sanded or unsanded grout, and that's smoother textured grout, but it can only go.
Was it 1/8 inch, right?
I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but you would use it for tighter joints. It's also a little easier to keep clean, like in a shower or something, for those of us who have iron in our water and everything turns pink and red, hypothetically. So what can he do if he scratched this tile and it's not something you could polish out? Does he have any top coats that can be applied here? A sealant or something?
I would think, try polishing it out. If he hasn't tried polishing it out, try polishing it out.
And what do you recommend?
Like a buffer?
Well, you can probably just use a rag and then some sort of scouring compound. Brasso, which is usually, at least in the Army, we used it to polish our belt buckles and buttons. But supposedly that
You guys had to
be
polish
used.
your buttons?
Sure.
Oh yeah, on your Class A's.
Like
yeah.
are they plastic buttons or metal?
No, they're metal
Oh,
brass
okay.
buttons.
What about your boots? What do you use for that?
Like different kinds of polishes,
Yeah.
and then coatings.
What about when you're cleaning the toilets?
Simple green, or I don't know, all kinds of
All right.
Ajax, whatever.
All right. I didn't know if there was some kind of secret weapon you guys had.
Nope. No, but Brasso apparently can be used on this stuff. You just put it on like an old T-shirt and use little circles,
Yeah.
roll it on there.
I thought of like a automotive
Yeah.
polishing compound
Yeah,
too, which has a
similar
little,
thing,
fine abrasive in
I was
it.
just using that last night to buff out some waterborne lacquer, actually. My shoulder's killing me today from the tiny circle motion. But I got McGuire's, restoration compound or whatever the heck it was called. And it's just like it's like a very mildly abrasive, it's almost like toothpaste. And honestly, in the old days, like we used to use toothpaste to repolish headlights that had gotten kind of fuzzed up. And maybe you could try that. Those little magic eraser sponges are pretty cool. But what you want to worry about here, and I can't imagine that unless you're like the Incredible Hulk, that you're going to burn through whatever the surface layer is. But it's
Yeah.
possible, I guess, so be careful of that. I don't know what your tile is, though, so proceed with caution. I can't imagine any sealer you're going to put on that's going to save you from filling up. If you have scratch marks in tile, you're talking about a sealer that would have to fill those scratch marks up and level them off to prevent them from getting filled again.
Yeah, you'd have to make sure that
Wax?
thing was
I don't
clean
know.
as could be.
Yeah, I
to
don't know
start
what
with.
you would use there.
Yeah.
Hopefully Patrick will tell us how this turns out.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We got the shed next. Homebuilding Consultants. This is from Tom. I'm building a 14 by 14 shed and was planning to do a 2 by 8 L joists on 2.5 inch solid concrete blocks. What's an L joist?
That's what I was trying to figure out.
I too was trying to figure that
I
out.
looked it up all over the place. I don't.
Maybe he had a typo and it was I joist?
I think so. He has L joist in there twice, but I think he might be talking about I joists. I hope.
Maybe L is in lumber?
I don't know. Does you think that Tom knows something we don't? Matt, Google L joist while I'm looking this up. All right, 2 by 8 L joists on 2.5 inch solid concrete blocks on gravel at 12 points for the base. Okay, so it's 14 by 14. We got 12 little footings. This is code in my area up to 200 square feet, meaning that in his area he doesn't have to have a permanent foundation or poured concrete down to frost depth, which is pretty common. After measuring up the site, I found that the largest height differential between 2 points is about a foot, so it's too far to make up and keep the blocks under 3 inches high.
Under 3. I think he means stack
You're right.
of 3.
Under 3 blocks high. The shed will be located next to a large tree, so deep footings or a slab isn't an option. Under each point, I dug a roughly 2-foot diameter hole, 8 inches deep, and filled with 3/4 inch gravel. The main point of the shed is to cover pool equipment, so the location isn't subject to change. My question is about the foundation construction, in which I'm leaning towards, which is 12-inch diameter on-grade piers poured on the gravel in a sonotube. 1, is there any height restriction? For example, if the smallest pier is 6 inches high, the tallest would be 18 inches high. Any problems with that? Question 2, should I attach with a J-bolt as long as I'm pouring the piers, or is there any benefit in regards to movement in just placing the L-joists on the piers as I intended to do with the blocks? Any luck on the L-joists, Matt?
No, it just keeps returning I joists.
Yeah, I can't believe that you would use I-joists for a shed, though.
Yeah.
Maybe he means lumber.
All right, let's just call them
L,
joists.
L.
2 by 8s. All right, so we've got 2 by 8s and a whole heck of a lot of footing support. Seems almost like
Too many.
too many to be honest, Tom. I think those 2x8s. I mean, I don't know what you're putting in there. Maybe if you're like parking a tractor and you're worried about it
Or his hot tub.
deflecting, yeah.
With the hot
The pool is in the shed. I would double check the amount that those 2x8s can span between supports, because 12 of them on a 14 by 14 shed. Look at Matt. I knew he was going to be doing
He's
this.
drawing it out.
He's drawing it out
Yeah.
and figuring out where the dots are going to go. How many?
I
Matt?
don't like the idea of a 6-inch diameter sonotube that's 18 inches tall on gravel at all.
He said
No.
12-inch diameter.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's 12 inches diameter and 18 inches tall potentially.
So it would be, the smallest would be 6 inches high. The tallest would be 18 inches high. So I've never heard of somebody pouring their own little on-grade piers.
He's making
blocks,
yeah.
but they're round.
I would
kinda
just
cool.
use the stacked solid blocks
And,
personally.
And how you would go 18 inches high?
I think that'd be okay.
Would you do anything to fasten them together at that point?
I mean, if you're going to go down that route, you might as well go the whole way and pour a footing and have
No, I just meant
masonry.
like you could glue them together.
Yeah.
You could put a little mortar between them, not in a professional manner, but just so that to ensure they didn't slip out from each other.
Yeah.
Would you come up with your little dot diagram
I don't
there?
know. I mean, if he's, you have 7-foot spans if you just do 9.
Yeah,
So,
12 is a lot. Save yourself some trouble. Don't do 12.
yeah.
You also don't have to do concrete footings here. If you wanted to just, dig out with gravel, you could just set this thing on posts right into the gravel. I mean, I've built plenty of sheds or seen plenty of sheds delivered too. And this is common when you buy one, is they put down gravel and then they put the shed right on top of the gravel. And
I think
water's not going to pool there. It's going to drain away.
I think he's worried about his height difference, right? He's got to figure out a way to level his grade.
Okay. Yeah, 18 inches is a decent amount. Well, I'm going to skip to question 2. And should I attach a J-bolt? I would not attach a J-bolt. Not because there's any benefit in regards to movement, but just because the J-bolt's not going to do anything.
It needs to go into the footing. It needs to be a continuous path to something that's not going to pull out of the ground.
Yeah, I mean,
or move.
you would be tying the shed, the underside of the shed to a concrete block,
Yeah.
which doesn't offer any benefit. And it would just complicate your life.
Yeah, you're basically just adding 100 pounds
Yeah.
of resistance, which isn't really going to keep that shed from
So
going
don't
anywhere.
worry about that. Your town may require you to do some kind of stupid ground connection thing, like screwing something in. Or
So they have ground anchors, which
Yeah.
look like a big corkscrew. You put that in. They
Yep.
commonly hold down manufactured housing and sheds in hurricane areas.
I used one time that was like this giant, like some of those wall anchors that you slide them in through a hole and then you pull it and it.
It's called
Yeah.
a tipping anchor.
Yes, it was like that, but for the ground. Mm-hmm. So you drill it, you push it down, and then you pull it back a little bit, and it opens. It like unfolds and locks into the ground. Seemed like an unnecessarily complicated device to me, but
I think it's if I lived in a high wind zone where you could expect seasonal tornadoes or hurricanes, I would want to bolt it down. Otherwise, it's going to blow away.
sure.
But
Here in Connecticut?
in most parts of the country, I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah. Well, you're whatever the code might require you to, but if it was me and I was stacking blocks up that high, I would want to feel like there's no chance that they're going to slip out from each other somehow.
Construction
And
adhesive.
I feel like, this is a time where I would bust out my PL,
Yeah.
not a sponsor, where I would, which I use for everything, and just glue those blocks together.
Buy a good one, right?
Good.
Solvent-based.
PL premium.
Yeah, premium, right?
Yeah.
Because you want
You want that
the
thing.
glue to stick.
You want the worst thing you can still legally buy
Yes.
Yeah.
in terms of danger to your health.
And
Yes.
they have ones that are formulated supposedly for
For
masonry.
landscape
Yeah.
blocks even.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd still get. I mean, if you look at the back of like a PL premium tube, it does 1,000,001
Yeah. Materials.
things. And I would feel pretty confident about that. And maybe for the 18-inch high ones, I might be inclined to sink it down into the gravel a bit so that it was kind of captured at the bottom, so it couldn't. I don't know why it would, but so that it couldn't kick out in any way.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds stupid, but like, oh, that's never going to tip. But I mean, what if like when I drive my lawn tractor into the shed, I have to kind of build up some speed to roll up the ramp, get over the hump of the doorway, and then I slam on the brakes so as not to hit everything else in the shed. And maybe that's enough sudden stopping to just push it a little bit, to start to, like, every little bit at a time wiggle it to the point where it's going to roll off that pier. And then what are you going to do? How would you possibly jack that up?
It would be ugly.
And fix that. It would be such a pain. But I mean, I guess if you wanted to pour his own, why not? 12-inch diameter, 18 inches high. I got no problem with that. I guess he wants round. Maybe he's looking for it to look nice too. I mean, you can buy a couple of sonotubes, cut them to whatever length you want, put them on top of the gravel, and then fill each one with concrete.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea.
Just make sure they're nice and plumb.
Yeah, you got to brace those things plumb, because if it starts to drift.
And you don't want the concrete to ooze out the bottom, so you're going to have to figure out a way to either embed it in the gravel a little bit and keep it from, it's going to want to raise, right? It's going to want to float on the concrete, so you're going to have to restrain it. Yes. I'm trying to remember how I've done that in the past. It's so funny you bring that up, because I'm drawing a complete blank. I've had that exact problem and then gone, I'm trying to remember if I just put a board across the top with a big rock on it. It's a thing that happens. Yeah, for sure. And it'll happen when you turn your back. And it will, the footing tube will just creep up a little bit, and as it creeps up, you'll get this big billowing leak of concrete at the bottom, and the more it leaks out the bottom, the faster it'll push it up, and then you just have a pile of concrete with a tube sitting next to it. Yeah. The lumber yard I worked at used to sell what were, I believe, described as footing blocks, which were, I think they were 18 inches in diameter and 6 or 8 inches thick, and they were meant to throw in the bottom of a hole, and you put a sonotube on it, or you put a PT post on it for deck building or sheds. Mm-hmm. So I would certainly look around for those in his area to see if he could stack those if he wanted round masonry units instead of square. And you think 12 by... You know what's really cool? Sorry, before I get to my other thought, there's do you remember the name of the company that makes those stackable round segmented deck footings? I don't, but I know exactly what you're talking about. They look like, the candy Rolos?
Yeah.
It's like that. You open a bag of Rolos, and that's what it looks like.
And there's a hole in the center, and then you bolt them together, and you have a pier.
Those things are awesome.
Agreed.
No pouring concrete, no having to figure that out. You just buy a stack of these things, lock them together, stack them up to the height you want, bolt them together, and start building.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Just make sure that the nut on the bottom is secure.
Oh, really?
We had one
just spinning and spinning.
Somebody. Well, no. I think they were trying to they had set something wrong on the top, and they were trying to take it off, and the nut on the bottom actually came out before the one on the top, and so the whole rod came out, and the thing was already backfilled.
So you had to
undig it,
fill it with ended up just kind of filling the hole with some more concrete and
you're
putting
not
in some.
That. Come on,
you're
faking it for the
drilling
inspector,
a hole
Patrick.
In it.
I got to look that up. I'll, on the show notes page, I promise I'll put a link to those things. I got to figure out what they're called. So you can visit findhomebuilding.com/podcast.
Gerton reviewed those in the magazine. Did he? I think
it sounds like he would have done them.
Yeah.
But my other thought was going to be, before I got distracted with that, do you think if it was a 18-inch high, that's his tallest and therefore heaviest footing, 12-inch diameter, 18 inches high, if you cut that little section of sonotube and poured it over, let's say, a scrap of 3/4 plywood, waited for it to harden, and then just kind of rolled it into place, that's movable, right?
I would imagine.
Yeah, 12 by 18, you could move that.
Yeah.
You could definitely roll it.
Yeah, and then just tip it up. So that's the other way you could solve that problem, is
the
leakage in the bottom.
He's making his own pre-manufactured concrete pier we were just describing.
Yeah, just make sure there's no patents pending. You don't want to have to take the big boys on in legal court. All right, that's everything we got for this week. Send us some more stuff to talk about. FHBpodcast@taunton.com. Go to findhomebuilding.com/podcast and check out the links to everything you heard us talk about on the show today, including Patrick's Hansel painting article. And we'll be back next week with another wonderful episode of the Fine Home Building Podcast. In the meantime, be sure to keep craft alive and enjoy your building, everyone.